How would the world react if Trump got assassinated the same way JFK did? Well, you're on a list now. Just saying hi to the FBI agents reading this thread. They'd probably start to question the safety of convertibles and motorcades. Other polarizing high-profile targets like the Pope would probably have to resort to extreme measures like bulletproof enclosures in order to remain visible and safe. I would be incredibly impressed by the gun that managed to hit him through the roof of the presidential limo and the organizational capabilities of whoever pulled it off. FBI would like to know your location. I don't like him, but if he dies, I hope you're ready for Civil War Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. Regardless of me really disliking that orange twat, I'd celebrate if he was removed from office due to gross misconduct. This would be terrible. As if the U.S. wasn't unstable enough already. This would definitely push the U.S. over the edge. Whatever consequences that might have, like it or not, the U.S. is a very important player on the global stage. Whether or not you like the U.S. having the amount of power and influence it has. Nobody with good international intentions looking at you too. Russia and China wants the gun-wielding neighborhood cop to have a mental breakdown. I have never killed anyone, but I have read some obituary notices with great satisfaction. Clarence Darrow, 1932. Like him or not, he is the President of the United States, and him getting killed would be terrible for both his supporters and enemies alike. Killing off any president is always bad, so it would be bad for USA. I imagine the governments of the rest of the world would unenthusiastically give their condolences and not really care much after that. I'm by no means a Trump supporter. Quite the opposite actually. But imagine the outrage if Trump supporters were publicly fantasizing about a Democratic president being assassinated in a thread like this. I don't mean the headline, which is fine. I mean specifically the comments. The sub would get banned in a matter of days. Some of you need to get a grip. I hate the guy as president. I really do. But my preferred method would be voting him out. I'm also firmly against violence. Him being assassinated would make him and his movement sympathetic. It would paint the opposition with a broad brush as unsympathetic. He could be idolized for years to come by his followers and motivate more politicians like him. And on top of all that, we'd get Pence as president. At least most of the things Trump tries to do are thwarted by his own incompetence. Pence would be more effective at being an asshole. Edit. Someone pointed out that I misread this thread's actual question, which I totally did misread it. Why am I being upvoted? Stop upvoting my mistakes lol, and stop replying to a guy who got the whole thread wrong. Edit. I really appreciate the gold in a way. But stop giving Reddit money. I totally misread this topic as would assassination be good or bad for the world. I captured the essence of the question purely by coincidence. Be terrified over what Pence could do. 30% would be suffering from schadenfreude. 40% would be indifferent. 20% would be sympathetic. Even those who didn't like him. 9% would be sad. 1% would be incredibly sad, bitter and vow vengeance. It's horrible that someone would feel the need to actually kill him. Since violence is a cycle that can only be ended when both sides decide not to hurt each other or one side is completely annihilated. I don't really like the guy. I think he's a symbol of everything that needs to just go away so America can move on from their darker bits of past. But I don't want him dead. Besides, assassination is a good way to turn your target into a martyr. JFK's assassination, while horrific, did directly lead to the civil rights movement's success, since JFK championed that, and LBJ really had no choice but to sign it in as JFK's last wish, so to speak. Do we really want the same situation to happen with everything the current president stands for? Coffin dance. I would personally be worried about what his cult followers would do, no matter who pulled the trigger. QAnon and every right-wing conspiracy nut would blame it on Antifa or some other leftist group, and there would be killings of anyone assumed to be associated with those groups. Memes. Lots and lots of memes. It will be a global covfefe. Depends on who killed him. If it's a left-leaning type, one think there would be a lot of riots. If it was right-leaning, a political person, probably nothing. It would have to be an inside job. If Trump were to take a motorcade tour through Dallas along the same road in an open car, there is no fucking way that anyone but law enforcement would be allowed close to the Texas Book Depository, much less up on the top floor. You could also bet that the grassy knoll would be crawling with police. In other words, there is zero chance that any U.S. president could be assassinated in the same way as JFK. I'd mostly get worried BC killing Trump is basically asking his idiot followers to get mad and riot. The rest of me would cough and dance with outrage. Hating the guy's politics is one thing, but actually assassinating him would be widely condemned. If this happened now, you'd see Pence win the next election by riding the sudden boost in popularity. For the Republican, as people sympathized, assassinating anyone is a cowardly action. If you assassinate Trump, then Pence becomes the president and the incumbent for the GOP. Now instead of Trump versus Biden, you have Pence versus Biden. Many of the never-Trumpers might vote for Pence. People who hate both Trump and Biden will see another viable choice. So who benefits from the assassination? Also, how stupid to assassinate someone 6 months from a general election. Even more riots, and quite possibly a civil war. Love him or hate him, you've gotta admit that Trump's presidency has seriously divided the nation. This country is like a big bottle of champagne. The Trump presidency built up pressure inside the bottle. Trump's death has the potential to unplug the cork. I don't know how the world would react, but I would be upset. Not because I have any love for the man, his policies, or his supporters, but because even a man as despicable as Trump does not deserve to be murdered. I would also ensure that all of my guns are in good working condition and that I have sufficient ammunition on hand. Terrified, I truly don't wish death on him, no matter how much I hate him. An assassination of a president, no matter our beliefs, is a very bad thing for our country. Also, Barron Trump is only 13 years old. He's already had to go through so much hate and bullying. Now to deal with his father's murder. It'd be terrible for him. This would cause riots in the streets from conservatives. They will go nuts. They'll push false information like Biden had him killed or some dumb shit like that. They'll also turn up in massive numbers during the election. You can put your money down on Biden losing the election and Pence being in for 8 years. You can put your money down on Republicans taking back the House. You can put your money down on the fact that it'll be years and years and years before another Democrat is elected to the presidency. We shouldn't fight hate with murder. If the president were to die of COVID-19, would it count as an assassination? Trump, an overweight 70-plus-year-old man with an unhealthy lifestyle and high-stress job, could kneel over from a heart attack and his supporters would call it a conspiracy theory and maybe declare war. If he was assassinated JFK style, then the current riots we're seeing at the moment could be considered just a warm-up act. I'd say countries like China or Russia would be worried a bit. Others would probably go like they will elect another one. Half the country would be very upset and the other half would be celebrating with jubilation in the street, partying like it's New Year's Eve '99. Seeing this would push the angry half over the edge and would probably result in full-fledged hot civil war. Instant civil war. We're so close as it is. Time to stop the violence before it gets so bad that millions die. Enough. Someone asked me the other day how Trump has played out his role as U.S. president so long without having been assassinated yet, and they were disappointed. However, despite also disliking Trump, I do not want his supporters making him out to be some martyr who was a great leader. Killing him now will only change the narrative of how people remember him. There are a number of assassinations throughout history that have resulted in a dramatic increase of political instability and violence. What immediately comes to mind is Tsar Alexander II of Russia, who was assassinated by anarchists who sought to overthrow the country's autocracy. His successor, Alexander III, reacted by reversing much of his father's liberal reforms and cracking down very harshly on any dissent. I imagine that a successful attempt on Trump's life would result harsh, oppressive measures from the government to quell both any perceived additional threats, as well as the inevitable violent backlash from his supporters. I would also bet that whoever ended up in office next, Pence aside, would win support by promising to crack down on the left. In short, not good. FBI has entered the chat. The rest of the world would rejoice, but the crazies in the States would make him a martyr. Would never happen. JFK's assassination led to modified cars being built to be approved by the Secret Service. The presidential limo, nicknamed the Beast, is bulletproof and costs like $1 million to make. I think if Trump was assassinated by one of his own disenfranchised fringe supporters, i.e. a total gun nut ready to throw down with the FBI, CIA, I'd say the GOP and the right would have collective meltdown. If it's Democrat, non-white, it's a war zone in the South again. Well, if that happened, you better make ready for a 2020 Republican landslide. It won't help Democrats win elections. It will have the opposite effect. You need to talk, defend your viewpoints and win the arguments with solid insight and arguments. Violence doesn't make you look good. It makes people hate you. Do you want President Pence? 'Cause that's how you get him. Well, he would be more open-minded then. I honestly am glad Reddit isn't so against Trump that we wish death against him. I don't think a headshot would stop him. No vital organs. It wouldn't shock me one bit if his head just did that too. Fucking pissed that he would now be a martyr for the GOP and people would feel so vindicated that the left is the real threat. He would go down as a tragic figure in history and it would be used to further trample people's rights. Hell, I'd be half convinced the GOP let or had it happen so they could be rid of Trump before he went off the deep end. Even more so, but still grab enough tools for the oligarchy they want. I'm no fan of Trump but also do not like this question on here. Wow, reading these comments make me realize how terrible people are. I'd wonder what caused the Secret Service administration in general to change the policy no longer allowing the president to ride in open-top vehicles without the Secret Service next to him. https://ABC News. Go.com. Politics. Ways Kennedy's assassination changed presidential security forever. Story. It equals 20,776,254. In China they would be happy. I don't know in other countries. Just as mixed as they currently do about Trump. People like him, people hate him, nothing is going to change. How they view him from a historical perspective will be a different matter. And I don't think we can speculate on that right now. 2020 already showed us it can throw massive curveballs no one expects. Nice try, Secret Service. Just to be clear, I don't want him to die. At all. Not only would it bolster the support of the hate groups that he has enabled, but it would make Pence the president. Plus, symbolically it would mean more for him to be democratically removed. But if it happened, I'd throw a party. Great! Now Pence is in charge. TBH. As much as I dislike him, I wish no ill to come to him. I spent all of Obama's terms worried for the guy, and the last thing the country needs is to set up the idea of harming elected leaders. If we can hold on to one ragged shred of the Constitution, I'd hope it'd be the lawful and peaceful exchange of power after an election. But I realize I didn't quite answer the question. I imagine it would be horribly violent as the lawmakers vacillate on how best to capitalize. It would become the de facto excuse to do anything, fire on protests, ignore quarantine, sweep in severe civil rights restrictions, It would be so much of a godsend to the fascists that it's a wonder if they aren't contemplating it. I've never wished a man dead, but I have read some obituaries with great pleasure. Happy. Nice try, FBI. Riots. You would get riots, on par with the awful rioting going on now. It would be turned into a full-on race war. All those God-fearing good OL boys will take it as a sign they can now do the most horrific actions. And they will get away with it scot-free because white power bullshit. As much as I disagree with what the man does, please do not assassinate this man at this point. Well, I guess any point. But dear Lord, not now. He would be martyred by the American people. It would be perceived as he was killed because he was doing something right, despite him being not only a bad person but a bad president. Jesus Christ. This site banned the Donald for threatening cops, and now you're fantasizing about murdering the president. I'll take fastest ways to get the alphabet boys at your door for 500 Alex. Say, what are the odds? 2 presidents, riding in convertibles in Dallas, Texas, are shot and killed by the CIA and covered up by the mob.